welcome. I'm Dr. Yasaka from Zion Law School. Welcome to the free astrotheology class. All right, this is actually a course, not a class. Okay, so our textbook is The Devil's Pulpit. The link to the free PDF is in the description area of this video, along with several of the Ancient Ibaryath books, online classes, and live classes, live online rather, on Zoom. Links are in the description area of this video. All right, so let's pick up where we left off, y'all. I think that the last couple videos were fascinating, very, very informative, because it didn't just give you etymology, the usual things like the etymology and the history, but we also reviewed the position of the constellations that are in the story about Christ's nativity, the birth of Jesus. Okay, so that was fascinating. Something we should all remember. Because that really drives the point home. If you can imagine, if you can see the position of those constellations in your mind's eye, it drives home the point that the gospel stories are just remixes of the position of the constellations relative to the sun. Okay? That's all. Just a remix of those stories. And unfortunately, later on, the dark priesthood, Jeremiah 8:8, began to add to those stories biographical information attached to each of the characters, to fool you into accepting a religious paradigm, a doctrine paradigm. But anyway, so we're almost finished with this chapter. Okay, so we're going to begin on page 45, part 3 of the Star of Bethlehem. The Star of Bethlehem is the Bindi matrix located in the elbow of Virgo. Virgo is, in religion, the Virgin Mary. Okay, so the Bindi matrix at the east, just above the horizon, is Virgo's elbow. You see the Bindi matrix on the beginning of December 25th at exactly 12 midnight on the western part of the western horizon. Let's put it like that. On the western horizon, you will see Aries, the ram, right, y'all? Aries the ram, or the Lamb of God. That's Jesus. Jesus is Yes, Y-E-S. Jesus is Just, J-E-S. Jesus is Jupiter, so on and so forth. But on the Western Hemisphere, you will see Aries, the lamb. The Lamb of God, which is Gad, G-A-D, the first tribe of the 12 tribes of Israel, the first of the Zodiac signs. Everybody see the connection? And right above Aries, if you look right above Aries, you will see Orion, the constellation Orion, and the 3 stars that make up Orion's belt. Those are the 3 wise men, the 3 magi, the 3 conjurers, the 3 wizards, the 3 magicians. And of course, this story has its origin in Zoroasterism. Zoroaster was not only a deity, or is a deity, but also a priestly class. Okay, it is a clergy also. And there were people who were named, who carried a name Zoroaster also, right? So you should remember the roots for Zor and Aster. You should keep in mind the roots for Zor and Aster, which you can get on page 41. From Zor and Aster, we get the words Sur, astronomy, Easter, East, Aster. How about Eastern Stars, y'all? The secret society Eastern Stars. The Bindi Matrix. Okay? But anyway, we also get magistrate and master. JC was called a master, so therefore his disciples were calling him a follower of Zoroaster. For example, a priest, a clergy member, or Zoroaster, the deity itself. All right, so master, magi, magician, magia, all of this stuff comes from the worship of Zoroaster. The master comes from the word magia or magi. So Christ himself was a magi. Everybody see that? When you walk into a venue in North America that they're calling courts, the magistrate is actually a magi, a magician, the same as Christ is a magician. This is why the priests, the preachers and the pastors, the reverends, when I was younger, they all wore black robes. That's why when you go into one of those venues they call a court, you'll see what? You'll see the magician or the magistrate in the pulpit wearing a black robe. Why? Because they're worshiping not just Saturn, but as the author here in this book tells us, they're worshiping what they call their divine master, who is none other than the Black Prince. Black Prince of what? The black arts, the black magic. That's where all of this stuff comes from, black arts and black magic. So therefore, JC, being a master, is a practitioner of black arts and black magic. In his biographical, historical presentation. Do y'all see that? So if you are worshiping JC, following JC the Christ figure, you are involved in black magic, the black arts, and the black sciences. How do we know? Through etymology, and through history, and through science or astronomy, astrology. That's the Trinity, the gospel-busting Trinity. Y'all follow me? Now, we also get the word Mithra associated with Zoroasterism. In fact, Mithra is Zoroaster, is JC the Christ figure. How can we say that? Read on page 41. Okay, I'm not going to go through it because y'all can read it on page 41 yourself. All right? So Jesus is Mithra, no matter what anybody tells you. Jesus is Mithra. How do we know? Through the three Trinity busters. Through the Trinity busting, through the Trinity buster, or gospel buster. All right? Which is what we just talked about. Etymology, history, and science. Anyway, let's continue, y'all. Mithra was also born in a stable on December 25th. Okay, y'all? But now let's go back to the constellation. On the east, on the eastern horizon, you'll see Virgo. And her elbow just above the horizon, you'll see that bright, magnificent, illustrious star called the Bindi Matrix. This is the star of the east that the three wise men, who are the three stars in Orion's belt. And as these three wise men who are on the western horizon look over toward the east, they see the Vindi matrix just above the horizon on December 25th, 12 midnight. That is the exact beginning of December 25th. So what's happening with the Virgin Mary? She has a stalk of corn in one hand and the scales in another. Now y'all should know that the scales of Libra are the scales that they're talking about. So if my memory serves me correctly, Libra and Virgo were at one time the same. In ancient times, one constellation, Virgo. Later, it was separated to form Libra. Okay? But anyway, that doesn't matter in this case. Virgo's hands are full. But she gives birth, and the baby comes out, and the baby falls right down to the lower part of space. That's the southern part of space, exactly where the sun is on December 25th. So where is the sun on December 25th? The sun is at the lowest position of space in the south, can't go any lower. And then on December 25th at 12 midnight, it has arisen or ascended or sprung a full 1 degree northward. So when baby Jesus falls out, baby Jesus is falling out in the exact position of the sun. Hence, baby Jesus is the S-U-N sun. Right? And in German, sun is S-O-N. So what else is in the southern hemisphere on December 25th? Well, obviously that's the zodiac sign Capricorn, right? So baby Jesus is born in a stable, the stable of Bethlehem, which is Capricorn, y'all. Everybody got that? So Jesus is born in a stable, and they put him in a manger, right? Now when you look up by the Virgin Mary, you look above the Virgin Mary, you will see the constellation Cancer, the zodiac sign Cancer. Well, that's the summer solstice, right? So what's in the position of the summer solstice with Cancer? Well, there you will see Jao, J-A-O, which is the deity. Right, y'all? That's the Father. Also in a manger or a cradle. Okay? Jao is Joseph. Jao is remixed into the historical story as Joseph, the husband of Mary. Everybody see that? Okay. So now when y'all see these images of Virgo, Cancer, Capricorn, and Aries, etc., you should be able to remember, or at least try to remember this story, okay? Listen to this as many times as you need to in order to remember this, okay? All right, before we get into what we're going to cover today, let me just see if I can give you a page number. So the Epiphany, I almost forgot to mention. The Epiphany, or manifestation of Christ to the Gentiles, is the constellation called Orion, y'all. So keep that in mind. The Epiphany, remember the Epiphany, 12 days, count 12 days from December 25th. That's going to be January 6th. There's a celebration with 12 cakes, right? 12 cakes, 12 constellations, 12 days. Anyway, that's the Epiphany. The Epiphany is, in fact, Orion, the constellation Orion. Okay? Now, let me give you... Christ is conceived. Jesus, rather, is conceived on the 25th of March every year which is called Lady Day. Lady Day. All right? Lady Day. 9 months to the minute or to the second forward is December 25th when Christ is born. All right? So y'all see how they're following the laws of nature. 9 months gestation period for a man with a womb to from conception until baby comes out. Okay? Let's see, what else? So y'all will have to find the part about Jiao. Here we are. Excuse me. Yeah, so you can find the part about Jiao. Jiao is the Iosepi. That's on page 43 too. Okay? So scholars, make sure you do your review and study well, okay? Study well. And remember that the 3 kings, the 3 wise men, those are the 3 stars in Orion's belt, and the constellation Orion is the Epiphany, Epiphany, or Epiphane, right? Upper Epi, and then Phane or Phanes, Phanton, this is Cupid, y'all remember that? Or Eros, E-R-O-S. Okay, now let's move to page 45. And by the way, what I'm going through, we covered in the video right before this, which is I think 22 or 23. Within the last 3 videos, y'all go back and y'all check it. You can get all of this information in the details. Okay? But what I want to review now is Serapis. Serapis. This is the Ptolemy pharaohs, the deity that they were made into, right? How did it happen? Because they started terrorizing and G-N-I-L-L-I-K people, spelled backwards. All right, they started exterminating the priests, the engineers, the scientists, until they submitted and made them into gods. Got that, y'all? When you look at the radicals in the word Serapis, now remember, initially it was O-Serapis, Osiris. Y'all remember that? And then they compressed it or compounded it. It was O-Serapis, as in Osiris Serapis. O-Serapis, and that became just Serapis, S-E-R-A-P-I-S. S-E-R-A-P-I-S. Serapis. But that comes from 3 radicals, Zor, Ab, and Is, Z-O-R, that's 1, Ab, A-B, that's 2, and Is, or Is, I-S, Zor, Ab, Is, meaning the Son, the Father, the fire. And Serapis bishops were called bishops of Christ, y'all. And that was about 350 years, about 350 years before Christ was allegedly born, in a biographical story, in a historical biographical story. Okay, y'all? So that's a sufficient review. I hope y'all are motivated to go back and study this. Study more, study more, study more. I just realized that. Study more, M-O-O-R, I always tell my students to study more, especially after an exam. I tell them to study. I just now realized what I was saying. So study more. Y'all hear me? Actually, that has three meanings. It means study more, as in you are a more, you should study. Increase your studying, and study more history or more science. That never came to my mind until now. Okay, y'all, so let's continue. But you know, when you reverse that, that's Rome, right? Rome, R-O-M. Christianity, Rome, everything is in reverse, right? Natural law is opposite to the administrative state, right? In other words, one is natural, one comes from men and or hybrids. All right. But anyway, page 45. Let's make it do what it do. Let's get into our lesson. Okay, so of Jesus. Now, those of y'all who have been here from the beginning, be patient, because I want to help you to learn, help you to recall. So of Jesus, just plus the Latin suffix us. So we have just plus the Latin termination us. Just, y'all remember the just comes from a finger pointing upward in the most ancient pictographs that show only the finger. And then we see the J when the pictograph shows the hand. So J is in fact, y'all see it? Let me see. Yeah, there's the J. So J is in fact ancient, but we have been taught that J is modern, and it came from was it a Catholic priest experimenting with the letter I? That's ridiculous on his face, right? So here we have just rather, J-E-S, or I-E-S, and of course, Y-E-S, that's yes. Okay, Y-E-S, just. So agreement, a promise to perform. This is what yes means. Yes is the sun. So all of those are the sun, the S-U-N, sun. Okay, y'all? The Latin termination, amongst other keys in language, let us know that the Gospels, having been written by the ancient Coptic Egyptians, was first translated into Latin and then later on translated into Greek after the documents made their way up into Europe, primarily by the Goths and the Visigoths, where all of this, most of the terrible stuff, the worst stuff, was done to the records in terms of editing them, Jeremiah 8:8. Y'all see it? So keep these things in mind. So of Jesus, traced to its radical yes, Y-E-S, the name of Bacchus, B-A-C-C-H-U-S, the name of Bacchus, the sun, the S-U-N, sun, the numerical letters of the great solar cycle, 608. Now, I don't know why that's the numerical number of the solar cycle. So if someone knows, can you let me know? I don't know why. 608, 608 are the letters of the great solar cycle. And the form or sign of consent and truth in the Yar, Y-A-R. So in other words, Y-A-R means Y-E-S in Dutch. The Oi of the French, O-U-I. The Yes, Y-E-S, of our own country, so that would be in English. You are heretofore informed. So I really wish I knew what this solar cycle, this great solar cycle of 608 means, or why 608. The Hindustani Krishna, transformed into the Greek, signifies merely the good man, G-O-O-D, man. Remove one of those O's and you get G-O-D, the God man. I got that, the God man. Jesus, denoting the divine, Christ, the human nature. So whenever you see human, you should think Han Uman. Han Uman, why? Take the A and the N, delete those after the H, and you get human, which is, according to law, a monster. A monster that cannot inherit land, although born from a woman. You look up color in the Black's Law Dictionary, you're going to see that color means fake, a symbol like them. It looks like a Gucci bag, but it's not made from the same materials or craftsmanship. So it looks like it, but it's not. In other words, these hybrids look like men, but they don't have the substance of a man. Why? To have the substance of a man, you need to be thought made manifest on the earth plane and sprung from the soil, Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, which makes you a rightful heir of all land, all resources and energy, all commerce, all contracts, everything, y'all, everything. Makes you the rightful heir of all of that. And thus, it's a well-established principle in law that land is the substance and subject matter of the law. And if it ain't about land, it ain't about nothing. It's, y'all see it? If it ain't about land, it ain't about nothing. So when you look up land in the Black's Law Dictionary, you're going to see Moors, M-O-O-R-S, in the definition. So there's our nationality right there in the definition of land. So this is why Moors are the substance and subject matter of the law. This is why when you speak as a Moor, as thought made manifest, as the 7 Hermetic principles made manifest. When you speak law. And as a manifestation of nature, you have the power, the right, by nature, to execute law. This is the executive office. You have judicial obligations, which is the judicial branch of government, right? And then you also have the responsibility or obligation to legislate. What does it mean? Pass these laws down. Pass the natural law down to the next generation. All right? And for those who refuse to follow natural law, well, justice has to be executed on those people, right? Or hybrids. Not because I said so, but that's nature. That's nature. So now, scholars, do you see why, if you're out here lying and deceiving people, you see why the punishment is so severe? Even if it takes 10 years or 15 years to catch up with you. You'll pay for it in terms of bad health, bad relationships, guilty conscience. Your body will produce the biochemistry of fear. It'll cause you to get cancer, die an early death. The books get balanced, cause and effect. That's one of the Hermetic laws. Okay? So that's why when we speak, it has to be in spirit and truth. Right, y'all? That's why we are the Christ. And when you speak, you must speak truth. All right? And you must be enlightened. Enlightenment means nothing more than an understanding of nature and how nature works. It has absolutely nothing to do with any philosophy or religion. It is the observation and the study of nature. In other words, become a scientist, whether it be in law, linguistics, you name it, aerodynamics. Our ancient ancestors, they were experts in everything, one man, one woman. Beyond PhD expertise in medicine, architecture, law, linguistics, mathematics, astronomy, astrology, you name it, literature. And we have to carry on that tradition. So you should not be sitting there comfortable, indifferent, in ignorance. That's even if you got a PhD in whatever. You need to continue learning. That's our culture, that's our heritage. All right? But anyway, that's what we're dealing with when we talk about the Christ. Higher self-behavior. Okay? Higher self-behavior. Christ, or crest, as the Greek word, derives its mystical... hold on, y'all. Let me go back. The Hindustani Krishna transformed into the Greek, and they have the Greek word here. I can't read Greek, so I'm going to skip it. Signifies merely the good man. Delete one of those O's in good, and you get the God man. Jesus, denoting the divine. Christ, higher self. The human nature. That now, remember, that's Han Uman. As existing in the great universal personification of the solar fire, Jesus Christ. This is very interesting. Because if we look at Jesus Christ as being a Han Uman, the historical Jesus, that means that the historical Jesus is a hybrid, right? That would mean a Han Uman. Or a Raphaim, right? Those are the two classes of hybrids. Okay, those who have well, I won't get into that, but you see the point. In contradistinction to the Jesus or the Christ that our ancient ancestors wrote into the gospel story in the original gospel, which was a known allegorical or mythological or fairy tale. It was just a way to hide the workings, or it was a way to hide astrology from the Catholics who were going around assassinating the scientists and engineers. Y'all see the point? So in this case, JC, we would expect to have a personality as a hybrid, the personality of a hybrid. Deceptive, Pisces, y'all. Power-oriented, Capricorn. Homosexuality, the secret gospel of Mark, where Christ invited the youth. That's pedophilia already. Invited the youth to his home, told him to come to his house in the evening with nothing but his jock strap on. And he stayed overnight with Christ. And as the story goes, Christ taught him the mysteries of the kingdom of God. So you can just imagine what happened with that, right? Which is why they took it out of the Bible. All right, so you can get more on that story in the Gospel and the Zodiac. The link to the free PDF is in the description area of this video. And I'm not trying to put down the biographical JC the Christ figure. I'm just telling y'all the story. That's all. I'm not making this up. So don't feel like I'm attacking you, because I'm not. These are not my ideas. I'm just conveying them to you. All right? This particular information has been around for a long, long time. It was publicly revealed in 1830 by the Reverend Robert Taylor, put in book form in 1857. Okay, so I'm not making anything up, not telling anything new. It's just that you don't know about it because you're not supposed to know about it. Right? You're supposed to be a fish who your religious leaders monthly pick you up and take out of your mouth a coin, a drachma coin, so they can live off of you. Okay, but anyway, let's continue. Christ, or crest, as a Greek word, derives its mystical sanctity from the circumstances of its being the universal inscription on tombstones and sculptures of the dead among all nations that used the Greek language, and among many of which used it without its significance. So they're using Greek language and they didn't even know what it means. Okay, that's what he's talking about. Many nations. The simple epitaph of each good man's tomb was his name. And the two expressive words, now these are in Greek, so I'm not going to read them. I'm on page 45. Means good fellow, goodbye. Now remember, the Hindustani Krishna means good man. All right? These two words represented sometimes by the initial letters 2X-ES or St. Andrew's crosses. Look, y'all. Now this is a cross with the 90-degree angles, right? 90-degree angles. This is St. Andrew's cross. See the difference? Y'all see the difference? Now, this angle is going to be maximum 23.5 degrees. How do I know that? Because this is the celestial equator, 0 degrees. This is the ecliptic. This line here is the ecliptic. That's the ecliptic. And the angle here, according to modern astrologists, this angle is 23.5 degrees. This is St. Andrew's cross. Okay? So this is a regular cross, 90 degrees. St. Andrew's cross, maximum angle 23.5 degrees. Now, in ancient times, that angle was less, but we'll get into that later. So now let's continue. These two words represented sometimes by the initial letters 2. Okay, so 2 X's. Or St. Andrew's cross were a most obvious hieroglyph of the 2 crosses of the equator. By the ecliptic, this is the ecliptic, by the ecliptic at the equinoctial points. Here's the equinoctial points. Vernal or spring equinox, fall equinox, or autumn equinox. Y'all see it over here. And then here is the apparent path of the sun, called the ecliptic. Again, for emphasis, this angle is 23.5 degrees according to modern astrologists, but remember, in earlier times that angle was less. It was less. Let me, you know what, let me share something with, no, I won't share it. I won't share it. If y'all want to know this, you come to class. Come to my live class on Saturday rather, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll save that for people who actually support my work. Okay, let's continue, y'all. All right. So, St. Andrew's crosses were a most obvious hieroglyph of the 2 crosses of the equator. By the ecliptic at the equinoctial points, that of autumn when the sun dips below. Here's the autumn equinox. My hand is the sun. So from June 21, 22, the sun reaches its maximum point in the sky. It has no other direction that it can go but down, so it begins to fall southerly, fall toward the south, and then it falls below the autumn equinox, which is the celestial equator. So it falls or drops below the autumn equinox. That's the crucifixion of Christ. Y'all got it? That's the crucifixion of Christ. So associate the crucifixion of Christ with St. Andrew's cross. Okay? Where the angle is 23.5 degrees in modern times, but in ancient times it was less. Okay? So remember, this is the ecliptic, the apparent path of the sun. So this is the, well, I'll save that for later too. But anyway, again, the sun is falling below the celestial equator at the autumn equinox. Autumn equinox, what covenant is this, scholars? This is the covenant of grace, the covenant of peace, the contract of grace, the contract of peace. This is what we were actually born into, the covenant of grace. The sun falls below. Now Christ has been crucified. Everyone should already know the vernal equinox, the spring equinox, when the sun is springing forward and the sun passes over the vernal equinoctial point. At the vernal equinox, of course, this is Easter for the Christians. And then what is it, y'all? Passover for the Jewish people. Okay, and on March 25th, now remember, the beginning of spring is the beginning of the year for modern astrologers. That's going to occur between March 19, 2021. Right? So this is the Lamb of God. This is Gad. This is Aries. The Lamb of Gad, the Lamb of God that taketh away the sins of the world. Right, y'all? On March 25, Mama Mary, or Virgin Mary, depending on where you're at in the world, conceives a son, S-O-N, on March 25, which is Lady Day. Make the correlation, y'all. That's page 43. So Virgo, Mama Mary, the Virgin Mary, Mother Mary, conceives of a child, the Savior of the world. 9 months to the day later, at the winter equinox, well, let me rephrase that. At the vernal equinox, Christ gets crucified. At the winter solstice, Christ is dead, goes down into hell, and is given the keys, or whatever your doctrine is. Doesn't matter. And then on December 25th, Christ is either born again or he's what? Resurrected. Y'all see how the story works? Okay, let's continue. These two words represented sometimes by the initial letters 2x hyphen es, or, two X's rather. Let me go ahead and show it. So these are the Greek words. Y'all go back and watch this. Put it on pause. Here are your two Greek words. Here are the two, this X's, which is St. Andrew's cross. Two X's, St. Andrew's crosses. Okay, y'all? Okay. And that of spring when he crosses it again from below. And so is said to rise again from the dead. So here are your two X's. This is the celestial equator, the autumn equinox. And here's one X, right? So this is the ecliptic, the apparent path of the sun. This is the 23.5 degrees angle between the celestial equator, which is 0, and the ecliptic on the side of the autumn equinox. Now let's go over here to the vernal equinox. Again, you see the ecliptic. So this is the, let me get this right. So this line here, again, is the celestial equator, 0 degrees. This is the vernal equinox. This is the ecliptic. This angle in modern astrology is 23.5. So there are two crosses. So these are St. Andrew's crosses. All right? Clear? Okay. Page 46, y'all. We're almost done. Hence, also the word crest, C-H-R-E-S-T, or Christ, upon all their tombstones, naturally associated itself with the idea of the resurrection. So these people who had expired in the graveyard had on their tombstone Andrew's crosses, signifying that they would be resurrected. Now that's hard to believe, right, y'all? You think about the evil. Let's focus just on North America, or even in Europe. You think about the evil, the pure wickedness, the land theft. Y'all know that land theft is one of the worst things you can do. Land theft, you know, that's against natural law, right? It makes sense, right? Because we're what? We are manifestations of the land. Okay, so I come from this soil and you're going to steal it from me? Y'all see why that's so criminal now? Also, I am thought. I'm not just thought, but that's the first Hermetic law. Mentalism, all is mind. The other 6 are just expressions of the Hermetic law of mentalism. That's who we are. That's everything. And I'm manifested in the flesh, in the earth plane, from the land, and now you're going to come steal it? Y'all see that? See why it is absolutely criminal? Punishable by, y'all know what follows? Right? Isn't that what we see in the law? Isn't that what we see in Torah? Or the Mosaic law? The contract with the Most High, right? The constitution of the Moors. So these criminals, both Moors and hybrids, were both pale skinned and richly melanated. Doesn't matter. These land theft, these land thieves, these hybrids wanted to be resurrected. Do y'all think that they may have believed that they were doing, quote unquote, God's will, Jesus' will? Absolutely, right? Why? Deuteronomy 28, verse 15 through 68. The Moors are in the curses, are in the punishments, to be stripped to be stripped of everything. Why? For being incompetent. For being incompetent and not following the Most High's commandments or His instructions. Where did those instructions come from? From the mouth of your mother and father, the mouth of your kinfolk, and also from the written word. Okay, y'all? Y'all putting 2 and 2 together? Are your eyes seeing now? So let's continue. And was hieroglyphical to the same purpose of the Latin resugam, quote unquote, I shall rise again. And here's the footnote, y'all. As you may have read, it parodied in our common churchyard stave, quote, go home, dear friends, dry up your tears. Here we shall lie till Christ appears. And when He comes, we're sure to have a joyful rising from the grave. So sad, so unfortunate. Why? Because this resurrection has nothing to do with a physical, fleshly body resurrecting from the dead. No, it's purely astrological. December 25th, the sun is resurrected. Right, y'all? Scholars? Here's your resurrection. Summer solstice, June 21, 22. Winter solstice, December 21, 22. Vernal equinox, fall equinox. Y'all got it? From the summer solstice, I know I did this, but let me just do it again, okay? Summer solstice. The sun is at its highest point in the northern part of space. It cannot go any higher. The only place to go is either horizontal or down. So So the sun is falling southerly until it gets to the celestial equator, which is 0 degrees, which is the autumn equinox, which is the contract of grace, the contract of peace. Shalawama. Shalawama here. Autumn equinox. This is the time where everybody gets 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of night. Okay, y'all? That is justice. That's where the abstract word justice has its origin. But the sun continues to fall. Christ gets crucified. The sun continues to fall. Christ is being humiliated, right? Actually, September 29, Christ enters into the gates of hell. These are the wintry months. The sun falls to its lowest point at the southern part of space, December 21, December 22. Now the sun is not falling anymore, but it moves horizontally. And for 3 days, the sun does not cast a shadow on the sundial. But for every other day of the year, the sun casted a 1 degree shadow on the sundial, but it stopped at December 21. Hence, our ancestors said that the sun is dead. Y'all see it? The sun is dead. But then, between December 24th, the very end of December 24th, and the beginning of December 25th at 12 midnight, the sun cast a full 1 degree shadow on the sundial. Now the sun is springing upward. The sun changed directions from falling southward, going horizontal. Its direction changed, and now it's springing upward. That's the resurrection of the Christ. December 25th, 12 midnight exactly, the beginning of December 25th, when the sun cast a full shadow on the sundial. There's your resurrection. It's purely astrological. Y'all got it? So it's such a shame that almost a whole world have been put under this spell that the fleshly body dies and goes to heaven. And people actually, and I'm one of them, change your whole life, your whole way of thinking in preparation of that day. Yeah, that was me for 30 plus years. Right? Trying to live a Christ-like life. Expecting to be resurrected from the dead. All of this nonsense. But anyway, let's keep on. So I shall rise again. Thus the phrase, quote unquote, Jesus was crucified. When was he crucified? He was crucified at the autumn equinox when the sun crossed below the celestial equator. Right? Meaning nothing but the Escheat and sun was crucified. While in all the Kabbalistic jargon of the epistles of St. Paul. Let me repeat that. While in all the Kabbalistic jargon of the epistles of St. Paul, your observance will perceive that Paul never makes the mistake of confounding or confusing the resurrection of Jesus with the resurrection of Christ. Your observation will perceive that Paul never makes the mistake of confounding or confusing the resurrection of Jesus with the resurrection of Christ. For Paul, can only prove that Jesus to be the Christ. That is, the S-U-N Son, by the fact of Jesus rising again. Now that is absolutely true. That is absolutely true. That's the proof. Christ rose from the dead. He was resurrected. What was Paul's words? If Christ not be resurrected, what was it that he said? Yo, it'll come to my mind. What's that verse? If Christ not be resurrected, basically that they were doing all of this stuff for nothing. Okay? For Paul can only prove JC to be the Christ, that is, the S-U-N Son, by the fact of Jesus rising again. These eternal risings and settings being the proper and essential definition of the S-U-N Son. Y'all see that? That's obvious, right? Yeah, the sun rises and it falls. The sun rises over or passes over the vernal equinox, right? And then the sun falls below the autumn equinox. The sun falls below, Christ gets crucified in the autumn. The sun rises above the celestial equator in the spring. It happens every year, like clockwork. Always was, it always will be, it is in fact eternal. Thus, sir, I think it must be as clear as the sun, S-U-N, to all who would not turn from the sun, S-U-N. In other words, if you are accepting knowledge, if you accept science, then this is very clear to you. If you reject knowledge, if you reject the science, well, you won't see it. That's what he meant there. And prefer darkness to light, right? You prefer to be ignorant. You reject science. You're indifferent. That means you still prefer. See, darkness, y'all, is ignorance. Darkness is not just evil and wickedness, but ignorance. And in fact, to be ignorant is wicked. Unless, of course, you are forced into an ignorant state. But to be willfully ignorant is wicked. Let's continue. And keep in mind, ignorance is not an excuse for breaking the law. And idiocy, folly, and faith to learning, reason, and philosophy. Okay, so if you prefer these things, shame on you. Shame on you. That I have done what I took in hand. That I have brought down such a stream of science upon the stable of Bethlehem. The stable of Bethlehem is Capricorn. Christ was born in a stable. Remember, a Virgin Mary drops the baby out of her bosom. She gives birth. The baby falls down to the exact position of the sun, which is Capricorn, the stable of Bethlehem. Okay, so the author is telling you right now that he's given you enough scientific information, enough categories of evidence and facts, that anybody who wants to learn can easily see that what he's saying is true, and I agree with him. But it's only people who are indifferent, they don't care, or they like being ignorant, they like the darkness. They're idiots, fools, or religious radicals. These people won't see it because they don't want to. This is what the author is saying. So now he's going to tell you that he proved his case. That I have brought down such a stream of science upon the stable of Bethlehem, as has washed away the accumulated ignorance of barbarous ages, and cleansed your hearts and minds from all respect for the gospel. In other words, he's breaking you out of religion, breaking those bonds, those mental bonds off of your mind, pulling the scales off of your eyes so that you can see. Okay? That I have cleansed your hearts and minds from all respect for the gospel. You ain't got to be afraid of it. As a history. See? You won't see this as a history anymore once you go through this information. Of course, if you want to learn. You'll no longer see it as a history, or for those stupid bunglers who have mistaken the gospel for history, and having once made the mistake, would never endure to have their error corrected or their information extended. All right, so you got the people who want to learn and those who don't want to learn. Those who don't want to learn are wicked, and they're going to stay in darkness. They'll continue believing that the Gospels are historical, that these characters have biological stories. Those who want to learn are brought into the light, the glorious light, and they see that the Gospels are nothing more than the remix of natural phenomena. That's it. The Gospels tell the story of the sun and its annual path through the Zodiac. That's all. The historical, biographical stuff, that was added in later. Those are Jeremiah 8:8 occurrences. All right? The work of the dark priesthood, the brotherhood of Saturn, the Goths and the Visigoths, Freemasonry, etc. Knights Templar, etc. Okay? Page 47. Hold on, y'all. Did I miss? I missed the footnote on page 45. Let me read it real quick. At the bottom of the paragraph, it reads, "And so is said to rise again from the dead." So this is the sun at December 25th. The shadow cast a full 1 degree. The sun rises from the dead. Let me read the footnote. Hence the name of Crest, Chrests, and Christians, ChresTians, signifying nothing more than good men or good fellows, and bearing no relation to any religious distinctions whatsoever. Y'all see that? That was the original meaning. Okay? So this Crest and Christians, not Christ and Christians, Crest, coming from the Greek. Christ or crest as a Greek word. Crest as a Greek word. Okay, so so nothing to see here, right? This is in Greek, crest. Crest was the common complement of language, and the worshippers of Jupiter, Jupiter, and Juno, Juno, and of all the riffraff, gods and goddesses of the pantheon, who were called Christians, and who were really so, as those ill-natured bigots who pretended a distinction. That's your clergy member, right? And religious zealots who pretended a distinction, a special meaning, right? Where there was never any difference, and would allow nobody to be good fellows but themselves. So in other words, you can be a good man, a good woman, therefore you are a Christian. But the Christians hijacked it. And the Christian said only believers in Christ can be Christians or Christians. Y'all see it? That's what the author is telling us here. So they just hijacked the term. And now we all associate Christian or Christian with religion, with Christianity. But that's not the case from the original meaning of the word. Y'all see why etymology is such a beautiful science? You see how you can get to the real meaning of things? You can cut the BS. You can avoid being tricked and misled and lived off on. So page 47. As your own experience attests to you to this day, how difficult and how daring a thing it must have been in any age for the better informed, the wise, and the discerning few to attempt to stem the tide of popular prejudice, or to say nay or say no to falsehoods, however gross, however false, to delusions, however monstrous, however extreme these delusions are, and mischievous, however terrible they are. Whence once the propagating of those falsehoods, what falsehoods? That the gospel stories are history. That's the falsehood. The delusions, what are these monstrous delusions? Well, that a dead body can be resurrected. And all of this kind of stuff. That nobody has ever seen, but Christians believe. Etc., right? You can drink poison and it won't kill you. Okay? Whence once the propagating of those falsehoods and the keeping of those delusions has become the source of distinction. See, that's what makes Christianity different, right? And emolument to a selfish and wicked priesthood. Y'all try getting some money out of your religious leaders. They have all kind of hoops you got to jump through. If they give it to you the first time, don't come back 2 and 3 times. You know, if you're down and out. I remember the Christian organization I was involved in. They made it extremely hard for people to get any assistance if they needed it. You had to have this wonderful, outstanding reputation. You had to be going out in the field ministries so many hours per week. But yet this person had been giving to the organization for 20 years. Had been giving donations for 20 years. But they ain't trying to give nothing. Right? But a lot of disgusting things happened, when I was involved in Christianity for all of those decades. A lot of the, and they're not trying. They'll come up with every excuse not to help someone who really needs help. Let you go in a homeless shelter. Let you live on the street. But the excuse always seems honorable. Right? They always have these moral reasons. Moral reasons, ethical reasons, doctrinal reasons. When the fact is that if you love somebody, you shouldn't let them suffer. That's just a fact. Especially go live in a homeless shelter or be homeless, right? And they're no threat to you. But then a lot of religious people will say, oh, he's a spiritual threat because he committed fornication or, whatever, or some flimsy excuse. Well, that doesn't mean he's going to harm you. That could have been his girlfriend who he's in love with. Or she's in love with him. But for whatever reason, they didn't follow your doctrine and get married. Maybe they're too wise for that, to do a government marriage, where the state, corporate state, will take ownership through an adhesion contract. The state will become a third party in the relationship and can come in, eliminate you, and take your heirs, put them in foster home, or worse, put them in child servitude, or in a situation where they're being abused in any way you can think of in terms of types of abuses that people do to children. Okay, y'all? But this is the greed of churches, and to try to make themselves look holy. And they can do it because y'all believe the doctrine. Y'all not thinking, you're detached from nature. Okay, let's continue. When you see with your own eyes and witness with your own observation how savage a madness, how cruel and bitter a spirit, your own Protestant and dissenting clergy, doesn't matter if you're a Catholic, a Lutheran, a Baptist, a Catholic, or a Protestant, doesn't matter. Same doctrine, same Christianity, same corporation, same trusts. Unum Sanctum, and what's the other one, y'all? Unum Sanctum is the first, and then the Escheat trusts. Right? That's what this whole system is built on. The whole hybrid system. Right? The Maritime Admiralty, Catholic, Christian, canon, corporate, dead, policy, state, whatever you want to call it. That's what it's built on. Unum Sanctum. And then after Unum Sanctum, I just said it. What was it? I just said the Escheat Trust. Okay? Capricorn corporations. But when you see this with your own eyes, scholars, when you see the savage madness, how cruel and bitter a spirit, your own Protestant and dissecting clergy. Think about the Inquisition. Think about how these religious people have no mercy. These policy enforcers who pull you over, these magistrates, the magicians, in their court venues, no matter where you go, these good Christians, especially if you're in the South, where they, used to be they were more open with it. These slave drivers, good Christians, but look at the cruelty. Look at the cruelty that they're doing to people psychologically now. Not just the physical cruelty, but look at the psychological cruelty of these religious people. The most enlightened of the enlightened and the most liberal of the liberal, as they would be thought to be, okay, y'all? Conservatives and liberals in North America, okay? Do endeavor to excite against any man who would attempt to make the world wiser. In other words, people like me, who are showing you the evidence, showing you the science, that the Gospels, that religion itself is not just a trick bag, but a Trojan horse. It's a tool of war. It's a psych op. It's psychic attacks. Okay? So men like me, there are others, Not a lot, but there are others. So these wicked clergymen, heartless, no heart, clergy, do endeavor to excite against any man who would attempt to make the world wiser than it is convenient for their ignorance that it should be when you see the slanderous arts. What do? They slander you in the community. They slander you on the internet. They go to Amazon. This is things that people have done to me. They go to Amazon, complain, write outright lies about my books. They go to people on Facebook, write outright lies about their interactions with me. I'll never forget this one lady ordered a book. I shipped through Amazon. Amazon shipped it to the address, which happens to be her job. So I followed up. She wrote in Facebook that she bought a book from me and I never sent it. Okay? And I just so happened to see it. So I followed up with Facebook, with Amazon. I got all the information, and the book was delivered. So I posted the book, a photo from Amazon saying that the book was delivered, where she made that negative comment about me. Y'all know this woman did not apologize to me. And you know what she said? Oh, she said the book, I had it shipped to the mail room at my job, and somebody must have got it. But did y'all see that? Well, she knew that before she wrote that comment, and she could have contacted me directly. Okay, y'all? So y'all, you never know who you're dealing with when you're dealing with these people on YouTube or social media. You don't know what their motives are. You don't know if they're out of their mind crazy. You don't know if they're there to turn you away from getting the information. You don't know. So why would you believe them? Right? But people have done all of these nasty things. What else will they do? Well, they'll report you. They'll call policy enforcers. They'll do anything to destroy you. When you start telling the truth, exposing religion for what it is, exposing Christianity for what it is. And of course, our people, somebody say something bad about you, everybody's going to jump in and pile on. Unfortunate, but I'm still here. All these years later, I'm still here. Where are they? How many books have I written on Ancient Ibaryath? I don't even remember how many. At this point, I'm still here, still productive, still doing the Saturday class, still got the one-on-one Ancient Ibaryath class going, which is, y'all remember the free class I did where all you had to do was buy the 911 rescue book, Ibaryath rescue book, the purple book, and you could take the class for free? You know, I would love to do that again. But the one-on-one Ancient Ibaryath course is like that, but it's much, much more detailed. But that course was really, really fun. Y'all remember when those people went and started, who did they go? They went to this guy on the internet radio. Y'all remember what he did, what he said about me? And how I had to tighten him up about him not following the law? Y'all remember all of this stuff? But this is what people do to you. And they try to drag you in the court. So we read about the sketch or the biography of the author of this book's life. How they drug him into court. They started calling him a preacher of the devil, a chaplain of the devil, and he did judo on it to take the sting out of it, and he called his book The Devil's Pulpit. Y'all see it? They took him to court, tried to destroy him financially. The religious leaders did this. And then they chased all of his friends away, tried to isolate him. And then finally he wound up leaving the country, and all of that stress, he died shortly after. Why? Well, what did J.C. the Christ figure say? Christ said, I am the truth and the light. Anybody who wants to come to the Father must come through me. So if Christ is the light and he's the truth, and his adversary is darkness and the devil, what is this telling us in the gospel stories, y'all? That when you are the truth, when you tell the truth, and you bring enlightenment, not doctrine, y'all, you bring the science, the people will treat you the same way they treated J.C. the Christ figure. People don't want the light, they don't want the truth. They want to be comfortable, even in ignorance. So you want to tell the truth? What did they do to J.C.? They slapped him. They spit on him. What else did they do? Well, when Pilate said, who do you want? Barabbas or Jesus, the King of the Jews? What did the people in all accord say? And who had the biggest voice in that? The religious leaders. The religious leaders. And they told Pilate, and by the way, Pilate wanted J.C. to walk away unharmed. Because Pilate had saw that he was the truth and that he was the light. He had done no wrong. But the Jewish religious leaders were jealous of him. And they were threatened that the people would begin to follow J.C. the Christ figure and not follow them. Well, what's the big deal about that? Because the money would dry up, y'all. No longer get the money from the people. No longer have the influence and power over the people. So-and-so's wife or daughter or sister ain't looking at you the same way like they used to. Y'all see it? So they wanted to hold on to their position. And they led the people into saying, we want Barabbas, a known criminal, a good-for-nothing criminal. Not just a criminal, but that's all he ever did was crime. And so the people who J.C. the Christ figure, out of the kindness and goodness of his heart, he healed the sick, he fed the poor, he raised the dead. He used all of his power, all of his energy to help these people. And they turned on him at the behest of the religious leader, and they said they want Barabbas. So they caused Jesus to be beaten. And their intent was to have him killed, crucified. That's what happens to the truth and the light. Okay? That's what happens when you bring science, when you are living in your higher self. Why? Your light is shining so bright that the religious people, the religious fanatics, and the ignorant see that bright light and it hurts their eyes. They see that bright light flashing on them and it hurts their eyes. Or they see somebody, let's say like a Floyd Mayweather. They see him in his bling, right? How many private jets he's got? His bling, beautiful clothes, beautiful mansions, and what do they say? They're jealous and they're angry. Why? Because he's shining. Or you take a man like Reverend Ike from the 1970s. Okay? He had a very healthy attitude about money, and he knew who he was. He knew that he is the Christ, or that the Christ is within. I think that's what he would call it, the Christ within, or God within, or something like that. But he knew this information. But look how the public treated that man. Look how they made jokes about him, put him down. And he died early, only in his 70s, maybe 70. He didn't make it to 80. I don't think he made it to 80. Okay, y'all, so that's what happens to the truth and the light. Okay? That's what happens to the truth and the light. Let's continue. And I know a lot of y'all religious leaders, camp leaders, Hebrew Israelite leaders, I know a lot of y'all watch my videos because I've heard things that I say come out of your mouth. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with it. But I'm just letting you know that I know that y'all as a group, not you, not as an individual man or woman, but as a group, are low down, rotten, dirty dogs. And that you will do anything to a man like me to stop me from pulling the dress off of Christianity, for exposing it for what it is. I know it. I know it. And it is the black Hebrew Israelites that are responsible for my books being censored on Amazon and also on YouTube, and also why Facebook always kicks me off. I know it's y'all who complain. Y'all who write the very negative comments. Ain't no mystery. Okay? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's get back to it. All right? Okay, so let me start. We got 2 paragraphs. So let's wrap this up. When you see with your own eyes and witness with your own observance how savage a madness, how cruel and bitter a spirit, your own Protestant and dissenting clergy, the most enlightened of the enlightened, hypocrites, y'all. I don't care how enlightened they are, hypocrites, and the most liberal of the liberal, as they would be thought to be, they are just pretending. Do endeavor to excite against any man, including me. I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. Turn people against me or any other man who would attempt to make the world wiser, then it is convenient for their ignorance. In other words, you make the world wiser, you put religion out of business. You put Christianity out of business. Okay? To excite against any man who would attempt to make the world wiser, then it is convenient for their ignorance that it should be when you see the slanderous arts, the mean, the cowardly defamations put forth from their lying boxes, from their lying mouths, where they know that no man may answer them a meanness and a cowardice which in no other case would man's noble nature condescend to, all to protect their guilty craft. In other words, they will stab you in the back. They'll call policy enforcers on you. They'll make up crimes. They'll accuse you of anything. Turn your family away from you. turn your kinfolk away from you, excuse me, even your heirs. They'll do everything to isolate and destroy you using their secret societies. Through the secret societies, they can use what? Each of the branches of government, executive, judicial, and legislative. They can do it through the university or your corporation. They will come after you. Okay? They come after you. I know all about this. All right, why do they do it? To protect their guilty craft, because that's how they're getting paid and living large and getting what? Getting social status. All to throw bars across the path of knowledge. All to evade discussion. All to shrink out from that collusion of mind with mind, to which I challenge them, and which alone can strike forth the sparks of genius and light up the day of reason among men. Yes, I agree with him. Knowledge, science opens your eyes so you can see this foolishness, and especially so that you can see the black art, the black science, and the black magic that is being used against you, not just by your preacher or pastor or general or captain or rabbi or Moshe or Moreh, but by the gospel books and letters themselves. Black magic, black arts. All right? Were there one priest or preacher in all this miserable, priest-ridden metropolis? In the hood, there's a church on every corner. Only of the thousands who warned their choused and cheated congregations not to go to the rotunda. Now, I experienced this also. The Hebrew Israelites, mostly, and the Christians don't listen to Dr. Yisaka. Especially, they won't promote my classes or my books. Why? They don't want you to have this knowledge. Badmouth me and my work? Why? Well, the same thing they did with Jesus, right? They don't want to lose their position. They don't want to lose membership. But I'm not a church or a camp. But they are so afraid to lose membership, to lose their position. They're so afraid, but they cannot see I'm not competition toward them. I don't teach doctrine. Not at all. Who had dared to trust himself or them to know that it is going unto the rotunda. So y'all, the rotunda, I did a community post. It's the building where the author gave these sermons back in the 1830s. Okay, and he was, of course, locked up for teaching this information. In fact, he was locked up twice. He did 2 bids. And then when he came out, he started teaching again at a different venue, this time at the rotunda. All right? Okay, so were there one of the thousands who affect to treat our astronomical argument with scorn? That's the science. Remember, the trinity of the gospel buster. History, science, that would be astronomy, astrology, and of course philology, which it includes etymology. All right, y'all? That's the trinity that busts wide open the gospels, that pulls the dress off of the gospel and shames the preacher and the priest. Okay? So were there one of the thousands who affect to treat our astronomical argument with scorn, who could show that he had ever trusted himself so much as fairly to look at that argument. Y'all see that? In other words, you say you got faith, right? But you won't look at the astrological or astronomical evidence and facts because you believe, or you've been told, that it's going to damage your relationship with your deity. Well, if you got so much faith, faith is not knowing. Well, why don't you look at the evidence and the facts? It shouldn't be a threat to you, right? Let's continue. I would say that the man is honest if he would look at it, but if you won't, you're not. You're choosing to be ignorant in the dark. But such a man is not to be found in Israel. Page 47. Y'all on the playback, pause the video and read this page. Now he uses a lot of colorful language and old-time words, but it's funny. If you don't understand it when you read it yourself, go back and listen to this part of the video I'm doing and then read it yourself again. But look here where my thumb is. But not such a man can be found in all of Israel. Y'all see that? Beginning here. But not such a man could be found in all of Israel. No, they ain't trying to tell you. They rather have you spinning your wheels, looking in Strong's dictionary, looking in Strong's lexicon, searching different Hebrew Israelite Christian YouTube channels, trying to understand a doctrine. You're spinning your wheels. You're just spinning your wheels because this is all astrological, all astronomical. Okay? And the only way to see the Gospels for what they are is to, one, first realize that they are nothing more than mythological stories or fairy tales, fables. And then two, using philology, which includes etymology, and then history. And that's the only way you're going to know, right? For yourself, at least. Page 48. And we are at our last two paragraphs, and they're very short. The conscious felon. The conscious felon. Y'all know what a felon is? A felon is someone who commits high crimes. You do know that what y'all call in religion the Mosaic covenant, which is a contract, y'all do realize that that is a constitution. That is a constitution. In fact, it is a trust document. So let's put this felon word into perspective. All right? You are a person, if you're a felon, you are violating natural law. The Most High's commandments or his instructions, literally, his instructions are natural law. That takes you to the Hermetic laws and the lesser laws. The conscious felon, the conscious man or woman who goes against natural law, shoulders not more at the confusion that threatens him in an impending cross-examination than your Christian clergy shudder at discussion. You're a known thief, you know you've been caught, and now you're afraid of the cross-examination. Well, everybody knows when you break natural law, especially if you know natural law. Why? Because there's going to be a cause and effect punishment, curses, So these religious leaders are afraid of this information. This is what the author is telling you. Page 48. Because how are they going to deal with it, y'all? There's no rebut. There's no rebut to this. It's too much to be just coincidental. It's too much to be coincidental. Not only is it too much in terms of volume to be coincidental, the time frames involved are too long to be coincidental. And the many, many sciences that show the fraud was just too many categories of evidence, too many sciences involved to make the argument that it's all coincidental. So they don't want to talk about this. That's what he means by a cross-examination. They ain't trying to deal with this. They want to avoid it. Last paragraph. Every other argument against their system has, in some way or another, well or ill, good or bad, been answered. In other words, the author is saying that the doctrines, the core doctrines that he brought out in the Star of Bethlehem, 3 parts, he's shown the astrological or astronomical solution. In other words, what they mean in nature, what they mean in nature. There's no doubt. There's no mystery. But in the Christian doctrine, some things are a mystery. Some things you don't know. For example, the Trinity for the Catholics is said to be a mystery. Or how does Mary get pregnant by the Holy Spirit? Well, it's a mystery. What's the mechanism of that? It's a mystery. But there are many others. Okay, there are many others. I'm only right now just trying to show what the author is saying. Okay? But anyway, it says here, every other argument against their system, that's their doctrine, in some way or another, good or bad, well or ill, been answered. But never this. See, they never dealt with the 3 gospel-busting pillars: history, science, and philology. Of this, as of the ghost of Banquo, the flagrant demonstration of their deep inequity, right, insufficientness, they have only said, they only can say, take any shape, but not that. So what the author is saying, we can talk about any doctrine. We can talk about any doctrine. From whatever, you want to talk about Lutheran, Episcopalian, Baptist, Catholic, whatever. Talk about all of these doctrines. We can do it, says the clergy, the Christian, the Hebrew Israelite. But when it comes down to talking about the astrology, they don't want that cross-examination. This is what the author is saying. They don't want to talk about it. When it comes down to talking about the etymology and the philology, they don't want to discuss it. Okay? Much, much easier and more effective to just slander you. To slander a man like me. The same way they slandered this author, Robert Taylor, the Reverend Robert Taylor. Much, much more easy to destroy or to destroy the character of the man or woman who's giving you this information. So congratulations, everybody, all of the scholars here. You have completed part 1, part 2, and part 3 of the Star of Bethlehem. All right, you made it through 48 pages. 48 pages. What's 4 plus 8? 4 plus 8 is 12. 12 constellations. Y'all see the page? 48? 12 constellations or 12 zodiac signs. Christ had 12 apostles. You are the Christ. 12 plus 1 is 13. 13 is perfect rulership, perfect governance. And y'all been taught that 13 is a wicked, evil number, when in fact it is not. 13 represents perfect governance. What is perfect governance, y'all? Perfect governance is the Republican form of government. You perfectly govern yourself. Nobody has to tell you what not to do, and nobody has to tell you what to do. Y'all see it? You're doing it all on your own. You're in your higher self. You're the Christ. Okay? You're honorable at all times, and you stay in honor at all costs. I'm just showing y'all, notice. I'm just showing you things that you may not have noticed. Now, in my opinion, that's a signal. In my opinion, that is a signal. It's not a coincidence. There was another one I saw. Well, I'm not going to get into it. But this is very interesting stuff. So I hope everybody is learning. And the takeaway from this lesson is that JC, the Christ figure, being called master by his disciples, is a magistrate, is a magia, is a magi, is a conjurer, is a wizard. Etymologically speaking and historically speaking. Right? Just going off of the name. Okay? And astrologically speaking, because JC is the sun, the S-U-N, sun. Okay? JC, by those same evidences, is Mithra. Mithra is also born on December 25th. That means that Mithra was also born, what? In the stable of Bethlehem. Y'all see this stuff? All right. Also, another takeaway, on the western horizon, there's Aries, above Aries. And this is on December 25th. Right, when Christ is resurrected. At the western horizon, Aries. Above Aries, the constellation Orion. Orion's belt, there are 3 stars. These are the 3 kings. These are the 3 magi. They look over to the east, and they see Virgo, or the Virgin Mary, and her elbow just above the horizon, which is the Vindi Matrix. The Vindi Matrix is the star of the east that the 3 wise men saw and followed. Right? In Matthew chapter 2, verse 2. Let me read it. And we're going to wrap it up soon, okay? Let me just give you... this is such an important chapter, a series of chapters, scholars, to understand. Matthew chapter 2, verse 2. Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east. That's the Vindi Matrix in Virgo's elbow at the eastern horizon, just above the eastern horizon. And we have come to worship him. The King of the Jews. Who's the king? Y'all remember? The king is Hercules, the hero of the skin. The hero of the skin, who has to pass through the constellation Gemini. 2 sons. The 2 sons. What page is it on? I'm going to try to keep this review brief, y'all. The two sons of Rachel, right? The two sons, 2 years. Herod wanted to kill the sons, 2 years and under. And that Rama, they were born in Rama. Rama is the Zodiac. Right? Y'all remember? That was lifted. Actually, this whole story was lifted out of two sources. One being the Bhagavad Purana of India, and the other being the Zen Avesta of the Zoroaster in Persia. Plagiarized right from there, okay, y'all? So keep these things in mind. The two children born in Rama from Rachel, which is the Zodiac, Rama is the Zodiac, these are Joseph and Benjamin, okay? Page 23, you'll get that. You'll see what else. Also remember Saba or Sabianism. Here we are on page 29. Look at my thumb. This is the Sabian or Saba Moors. Some people say that this is where Sabbath comes from. That this is where the Sabbath comes from. Not that we were worshiping, okay, but Sabbath is the culture, okay? The culture of studying, observing and studying the stars and learning how to live in harmony with nature, not religion, okay? What else? I highly suggest that you look at page 30 so you can get the other words for sun, S-U-N, and day. San, Zan, Zun, sun, and Zun. Gad, Gid, God, Gad, Good. They just threw vowels in there. All right, and you'll also find information on this page or hereabout where it tells you that in Germany, sun, S-U-N, sun is actually S-O-N. So hence, Jesus is the S-U-N son and the S-O-N son. Okay? They are synonyms. S-U-N son and S-O-N son are synonyms. Okay? In German and in Dutch language. All right, so y'all have to find that yourself on page 30. Okay. Anything else I want to bring to your attention? Make sure you go back and review the information about the Magi. Make sure you study the information about the Magi. All right. Especially on page 36. Okay, you'll find information about the Magi also on page 35. Is it clear? All right, so I think with that, I'm going to end this. Make sure you study page 40 and 41. 40 and 41 is also dealing with Zoroaster, and the Magi. Now keep in mind too, I almost forgot this. This is a very important point. Page 40. Here we read, of the Magi, everyone remember this, of the Magi, so deceitfully translated as wise men of the East, directed by a star to a stable in which the King of the Jews was to be born, all our historical knowledge is derived from the most ancient of all writings. Those writings transmitted or given to us from the ancient Babylonians and Chaldeans. They appear to be first. The Babylonians and the Chaldeans appear to be the first of the human race, always think Han Uman, human race who constituted such a body as that which is now called the clergy. The clergy. They were formed into societies. Eventually they became secret societies, y'all, and resided in colleges where their whole business consisted in the study of astronomy. They didn't say religion, study of astronomy, science, which they disguised from the discovery of the vulgar. Who was that? Well, the Catholics, the religious people who wanted to kill, eliminate the natural law paradigm or the nature paradigm and usher in a religious or doctrine paradigm. So they hid it, okay, under the thick veil of allegorical fictions. So the ancient Egyptians wrote the Gospels as allegorical stories to hide the science of astronomy and pretended history. Hold on, y'all. One moment. So these, hold on. All right, y'all, just a second. All right. Okay, so now we're talking about the Babylonians and the Chaldeans, and they are not as ancient as the ancient Egyptians, right? So now we're dealing with the Babylonians and Chaldeans. So there's a tradition, or the ancient Egyptian, Coptic Egyptian Gospels was passed down to the Babylonians. And according to the author here, these allegorical stories, these fictions, but the Babylonians added pretended histories. Let me say it again. The Babylonians added pretended histories. Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 8. What's happening, y'all, in Babylon? Well, the house of Yasharallah allegedly goes into exile in Babylon, right? And according to the story, many common people were left over in the land, which is an impossibility, right? Because the land was totally destroyed. It was like Sodom and Gomorrah, according to Moses and the book of the law. But that's the story, y'all. Do y'all see what we're dealing with here? Now the Jews, biblical Hebrew, etc., has its beginning, the Jewish religion has its beginning where? Allegedly, after Babylonian captivity, when, was it Cyrus sent the Jews back to Israel, their homeland? That's the beginning of the religion, Judaism. At the moment that the author is telling us that the Babylonians added pretended histories to these Gospels. This is page 40. Make the connection. Watch the video that I did with Sarnetta on my homepage on YouTube. All Abrahamic religions are a hoax. And in that, you'll see the evidence coming right out of the book of the law from Moses that the house of Yasharallah, or the quote-unquote Israelites, could not have been sent back to the promised land because it was uninhabitable, a burning, dry wasteland, just like Sodom and Gomorrah, could not support life. Promised land was totally destroyed. And hence we see the emergence of Judaism in contradistinction to the bloodline people, the house of Yasharallah. Everybody see that? Make sure you understand this. Precisely, so let me go back. So these clergy were formed into societies and resided in colleges where their whole business consisted of the study of astronomy, which they disguised from the discovery of the vulgar. The vulgar would be the Catholics. These people, these Brotherhood of Saturnalia, all of these people who want to usher in religion, doctrine, under the thick veil of allegorical fictions. Now that's okay. The ancient Egyptians did that. Here's the problem. And pretended history, that's the magic. That's the black arts. Right there, that's Jeremiah 8:8. Precisely such as the Gospels, which are come down to us, are found to be. Y'all see that? Put two and two together. It's the Goths and the Visigoths who did the most horrendous editing to the Gospels. Y'all find that, I don't remember what page it's on, but it was the Goths and the Visigoths who did that. Okay? Maybe later I'll find it. On page 9. On page 9. It reads here. On page 9, it says here, and lapsing as unhappily it did, out of the management, talking about the Gospels, out of the management of those who knew its meaning, that's the ancient Coptic Egyptians. So they lost it. Who got it? It got into the hands of the Raphian, or it got into the Raphian hands of the Goths and Vandals, who knew nothing about it. They knew nothing about it, and they have what? Muddled the little share of intellect which nature has given them, and maddened them into Christians. Y'all see that? Put two and two together. When did the Goths and the Vandals and the Vandals enter into history? Where they're the ones who allegedly destroyed the Roman Empire. The Goths and the Vandals, again, are said to be the ones who destroyed the Roman Empire. And from the Roman Empire's destruction, we get what? The Catholic Church. So y'all put two and two together. Put two and two together. The Babylonians and the Chaldeans started to introduce these pretended stories, these biographical stories, into the Gospels. The Gospels are now in the hands of the Vandals and the Goths and the Vandals. And they do the worst of the worst editing. So what period of time, scholars, are we dealing with? That is very modern. That is very modern. The book of Maccabees, the 2,000 and plus years, or the book of Maccabees, the Babylonian captivity, Israel being released from Babylonian captivity, and then the whole pretended history with the Roman Empire and its destruction by the Goths and the Vandals, scratch it out, delete it. It never happened. You just saw the true timeline. The true timeline has just been revealed to you. So if y'all are learning, come back in about 12 to 24 hours. I'm going to do another presentation. We're going to begin on the gospel with John the Baptist. Okay, we're going to begin with John the Baptist. All right. We will begin with John the Baptist. So listen, y'all. I would like to get a studio. If y'all can afford to contribute to my work, give a donation or whatever you want, buy my books. Actually, it's even better if you buy my books. That way you get something, okay? You get something for whatever fiat you put in. So I can get a studio so we won't have to deal with this noise and these interruptions. I can do a lot better without the interruptions. This breaks my train of thought. But anyway, Islam to all the Moors, Shalawama. Thanks again, everyone, for buying my books, especially those of you who have bought my favorite book, which is Animals in the Bible. Also my lexicon, the black book that has a rose on it, all of my books. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you for your support. Those of you who have made donations to my project to write the Book of the Law in Ancient Ibaryath and Modern English, and to restore natural law and constitutional principles and concepts that are in the Book of the Law that are hidden. Okay? And others, if you want to see more about what's going to be in the Book of the Law, look in the description area of this video. I list a lot of things, including the 7 Hermetic laws and more. Trust law, estate law, etc. Due process of law, etc. So anyway, check that out. So thanks in advance. Everybody's invited to come see me on Saturday in the Zoom class, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, everybody's invited. You don't have to pay anything. You can come to a couple classes for free. If you want to enroll, you can enroll. But you can experience it for free. Come a couple times. Anyway, I got to run, y'all. Thanks for spending your evening with me, or your afternoon, or morning, depending on where you're at in the world. So Shalawama and Islam to all the Moors.